Good day everyone, I am Stella Maria Ada Tuin and I will continue my discussions. And now, it's about law on obligation. Article 1190. When the condition have for their purpose of extinguishment of the obligation to fulfill, the party, upon the fulfillment of the said condition, shall return to each other what they have received. Basically, this article called as a return of obligation because if there is a situation where a party or an individual or a partner neglect, destroy, or extinguish the obligation to fulfill the condition, they are obligated to return what they have received to each other. This article has something to do with resolutory conditions because resolutory conditions, it is the condition where the negotiation will take only effect upon the condition assigned to carry out the negotiation. Meaning there is no suspension or postponement in the terms or the existence or the validity of the terms it offers. Rights and obligations will come into existence immediately upon the agreement of the parties. But if the resolutory condition is fulfilled, the contract will treat it as never exists. But if the resolutory condition is extinguished, both parties are obligated to return all the things that they have received to each other. For example, Efren and Ronnie are best friends. Since Ronnie is concerned with Efren's frequent visit in casino, he gave the latter the brand new car with the condition that Efren is not allowed to casino anymore. After 2 weeks, Efren went to nearest casino, itching to spend some coins in fruit machine. The question is, does the act of Efren extinguish the obligation of Ronnie to keep the car in Efren's possession? Yes, the obligation of Ronnie is extinguished because Efren went to casino despite that the condition is he is not allowed to go there. And therefore, Ronnie has a right to demand the return of car in his possession. Article 1210. The indivisibility of an obligation does not necessarily give rise to solidarity, nor does solidarity of itself imply indivisibility. For us to have a easily understanding about this article, I want to explain 4 topics mentioned in this article. The first one is the joint obligation, solidary obligation, indivisible obligation, and divisible obligation. Joint obligation, it is an obligation where it is paid or fulfilled by different debtors proportionately, meaning it could be A or it could be B. While in solidary condition, it is a condition that all debtors are bound together to fulfill or to pay the obligation. Therefore, it is mass A and B. In indivisible obligation, it is an obligation where the prestation cannot be performed by parts or it requires a specific subject. For example, a specific model of car, a specific brand of bag, or a specific style of guitar. And the last one is the divisible obligation. Divisible obligation, it is an obligation where the prestation can be performed by parts and it does not require a specific subject. For example, money and food. According to this article, obligation may go under into any of these scenarios. The first one is the solidary indivisible obligation. Solidary indivisible obligation. For example, ham and cheese solid themselves to deliver specific car to burger company. It's become solidary because it must both A and B or ham and cheese should fulfill the obligation. It is indivisible obligation because car is a specific subject. The second scenario is the solidary divisible obligation. If Ham and Cheese sold themselves to pay Burger Company money with the amount of 50,000 pesos, it is solidarity obligation because both A and B, or the Ham and Cheese, are obligated to do the obligation. And it is divisible because money is not specific subject, and it can be performed by parts. The third one is the joint indivisible obligation. If Ham and Cheese are jointly liable to deliver specific bag to Burger Company, it is a joint obligation because it could be A or B, or it could be ham or cheese. Well, it is indivisible obligation because bag is a specific subject matter, and it cannot be performed by parts. And the last one is the joint divisible obligation. If ham and cheese are jointly liable to pay cash or money to Burger Company with the amount of 50,000 pesos. It is a joint obligation because A or B could fulfill the obligation, and the money, it's not a specific subject matter, and it can be performed by parts. Article 1276. This article involves two subjects. The first one is the guarantor, the second one is the merger. Guarantor is a person who promised to pay back the loan if the original borrower can't pay it back. While the merger, it is the meeting of the person of the qualities of creditor and debtor with respect to the same obligation. Honestly, I find it difficult to understand, but I will try my best to explain to you guys the meaning of this article by using an example. According to this article, there are two effects of merger. The first one is the effects of merger in the person of principal, debtor, and creditor, and the second one is the merger in the person of guarantor. So let's have an example on the first effect. For example, Biel owns 50,000 to Ronnie, and it is guaranteed by Francisco. So Francisco is the guarantor. Ronnie passed his right to Reynald, and Reynald passed his right to Arsenio. Then Arsenio passed his right to Biel. The effects will be, Biel is not extinguished to his obligation to pay the money, and Francisco is benefited because he is released from his obligation, which is as a guarantor. So another example in number 2, merger in the person of the guarantor. Biel owns 50,000 to Ronnie, and Ronnie passed his right to Reynald, and Reynald passed his right to Arsenio, and Arsenio passed his right to Francisco, which is the guarantor earlier. The effect will be, Biel will still have an obligation to pay money, but not to Ronnie, but to whom? To the new creditor, which is Francisco. Now Francisco, as a new creditor, he has right to demand payment from Biel. Article 1300. This article focuses on idea of subrogation. So subrogation means the substitution of one person as a secondary creditor for another with legal rights and claims. So there are two kinds of subrogation. The first one is the legal subrogation and the conventional subrogation. Legal subrogation, it is not presumed, it only takes place not through an agreement but by the operation of law. While the conventional subrogation, it will take place or occur by the agreement of the original parties, which is the creditors and the debtors, and the third person, which is the another person or the new creditor. So for example, Elise owns 50,000 pesos to Sebi, and Sebi passed his right to Luna. So Luna, as a new creditor, has a right to demand payment from Elise. And this example, is called as a conventional subrogation because there's an agreement between the original parties, and the third one, which is Luna as a new creditor.
Oh, thank you.